Hey, welcome back to Scott Talks, and we are talking with PhD Brian Lowery, who is a Stanford professor. Um,
Do we
you're,
say Dr. Brian
yeah, I
Lowery?
was going to say doctor. I almost put it in the,
Because it doesn't say that in your information. It says just PhD.
Yeah, I don't really go with titles very much, but you could say I prefer if you were gonna use a title, be professor, but I prefer first preference zero title,
all right, all
second
right.
professor.
I like how you put PhD at the end. We could just tap on it if we wanted, but and you're really humble, man. It was really a great conversation with Laura. You guys do talk a lot about the same subject matter. You're a social psychologist by training. I
Mhm.
really want to take one of your classes. Actually, there was so much real language that you're giving to things that are occurring in our society and changes that are happening. It feels rapidly with the explosion in population, with the transfer of information being so quick. The way people learn now it seems to me, is being taken over a lot by visual stuff and also by what's happening in the news. And there seems to be less people putting language to it and more people just reacting to it. And I really appreciated the way you took the time to explain things with real purpose and meaning behind it. Um, he also has a book out, you guys, called Selfless. It'll be coming out on the 28th. It'll be out by the time this episode's out and released. And I Laura read, I guess it was the inside cover, huh? What part of the book did you read?
Sure. Wait, it was just the description. So maybe is it the flap jacket?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was gorgeous. The thing I think of from an academic is not what I inferred from this reading, which was this sense of compassion and connection. Uh, you talk about, despite what you may think, we aren't islands unto ourselves. We're creation. Um, by the many hands that touch us, we don't just exist in communities. We're created and shaped by them. And then at the end, there's something to that. When we shatter the myth of individualism, we free ourselves to make our lives and to the world accordingly. And I mean, that's just freedom, it sounds like to me, like looking at the world honestly, understanding how I'm shaped, and then realizing that I'm a product of that I have a freedom. Is is this your goal behind everything that you do academically? Um, is that why the book was hard to write? Because it comes from an intellectual place into a real spiritual sort of sense?
You know, it's an interesting question. One, if I'm happy you picked up on the freedom part. I think the book can be read in a way as a meditation on freedom. Like,
Mm.
what is it? Do we actually want what we think we want from it? Um, what would it mean to be free? For me, the book was an exploration of how we live. I mean, what life is about and how we experience it, and um, how some of the illusions we have might be holding us back. Right? We believe we see and understand the world, and we believe the world should fit our intuitions about how it works, or at least our intuitions about how we work. And what if we're just wrong about those? What if our beliefs about the way we exist in the world are just wrong? And I kind of explore a little bit of that in the book. And it does, I don't, and spiritual is always a tricky thing because it means different things to different people.
It does.
But it,
Yeah, I get that, but
yeah, but it's
I do
certainly a
believe.
deep philosophical place, by the way. It's certainly a deep philosophical place. The last two chapters, the penultimate, the second to last chapter is about meaning in life,
Mhm.
and the last chapter is about death. So it does go into those kind of spaces. Yeah.
Cool. And I sense a spiritual meaning to be like what you were saying is like that I can change a belief system or experience something from within myself that reflects the way I act in the world. And that's sort of the freedom I get by hearing a lot of by informing myself, I guess, about how I maybe been treated in the world versus somebody else, how they've been treated in the world, and how that might, like you said, reflect the information that I seek. I think that it's a hard question to ask yourself. Am I looking for information that supports my belief, or am I looking for information that is true to what's happening all around me? And I think we get caught up in it. And like I said, could you talk to me a little bit maybe about, because I know you do a lot of studies around social media and how it reflects this psychological state. And I think we are all so attached to the digital world that we don't often question its effects. But is there any generalized statement that you could give me that could give us some direction to look into how this is affecting the way I form my opinions?
Yeah. I don't, it turns out I don't write that much about social media. I talk a lot about it now, especially in the webinar series, Leadership for Society. If people are interested, they can find that on the Stanford website under my name. We talk about social media there. And I've written a little bit about it. If you think of the self as being constructed by relationships, you can start to think about how social media is starting to play a role in who we are and who we can be. Like, I think about things like serendipitous discovery, right? So, and you all seem to be of a vintage where you might have walked through record stores and like flipped through things and ran across things that you didn't expect, or going to a bookstore and just browsing. That there's a way in which this is a simple thing that everyone can understand. There's a way in which that allows for an expansion of self, right? Like you run across something you never imagined, and there you are with this new thing, this new possibility. But in the world of social media, in the world of predictive algorithms, you're being given what you should want, right? It's looking at what you've looked at the past, it's what you've listened to already, and it's predicting for you what else you would like what you already like. So you can one way to think about it is it strips away a little bit of that serendipity, that possibility of expansion.
I love that. I never really, I think I kind of intuitively know that because things are so loaded, but I do remember the joy of looking through a record. Like I would take a whole day and a friend and a cup of coffee, and we would just walk through a record store. And then if you found something you fell in love with, which back then was a much bigger risk, right? You had to buy a whole album for one song and maybe get a second song out of it that you loved. But if I am, given 7 songs that chances are I'm going to like because I've listened to one other song, it does. And then I think it's serendipity, and I go, oh, wow, look at this. This is wild. Then my experience is hedged. It's not as random as I want to believe it is. I watch, I don't know. I feel lucky that I had that dial-a-phone back then. I feel lucky that I had to go outside and play till it was dark. But I do have kids, and I'm watching them grow up in this world, and I'm watching them reflect back that existence. And some of them put it down, some of them pick it up more. I can't tell. I really think the work you're doing is really fascinating, and I really look forward to reading your book. I say I'm going to read a lot of books, but I'm going to read this one. And the book is called Selfless, you guys. It comes out on March 28th. We'll have the link in our show notes. And we have all the ways you can hook up with Brian and hear more about this. And thank you so much again for being patient and being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right.